Well, grade yourself on that capacity to concentrate full attention upon one subject at a time. Whether you're speaking or whether you're thinking or whether you're writing or teaching, whatever you do, let's concentrate on one thing at a time. And then on the habit of learning from your mistakes. If you don't learn from your mistakes, why, you might just as well not make them. That isn't a truism. Tell me what is. I never see a man duplicating a mistake over and over again that I don't think of that old Chinese aphorism: if a man fool me once, shame on the man, but if you fool me twice, shame on me. There are a lot of people that should say shame on me because they just don't seem to learn from mistakes at all. And number 26, a willingness to accept full responsibility for the mistakes of one's subordinates. And if you have subordinates and they make mistakes, it's you who have failed and not the subordinates. Remember that, will you? Either train him how to do the thing right, or else put him in some other job where you won't have to supervise him. Let somebody else do that. But the responsibility is yours if the person working under you is subordinate to you. Number 27, the habit of adequately recognizing the merits and abilities of others. Don't try to steal the thunder from the other fellow. If he's done a good job, give him full credit. Give him double credit. Give him more than he's entitled to, rather than less. And a little pat on the back has never been known to hurt anybody when you know he has done a good job. The most successful people like recognition, and sometimes people work harder for recognition than they will for anything else. Some people are incorruptible, no matter how, you can't over-flatter them because they know what their capacity is. If you go beyond that, they begin to be suspicious of you. Most people, however, I believe, are corruptible when it comes to this business of flattery. You can over-flatter them, and they commence to believe it. And that's bad for them and for you, too. There was a book written that was widely distributed all over this country, and the central theme in that book was, if you want to get along in the world, flatter people. Well, flattery is as old as the world. It's one of the most deadly and one of the oldest weapons, and one of the most dangerous. Now, I like approbation. I like those 5 people that happen to know me and compliment me. I enjoyed it. But if they'd gone, if one of them had followed me out and said, well, Mr. Hill, I appreciate all that you've done for me and all that sort of thing, but by the way, would you mind if I came around the house tonight? I'd like to talk to you about a business proposition. You see, right away I'd have said, well, now he's flattered me in order that he may get some of my time and he may get some benefits from me. So too much flattery, too much commendation is not so good either. Well, anyhow, a positive mental attitude at all times, 29, but I wanted to call your attention to number 28, the habit of applying the golden rule principle in all human relationships. I'm not going to ask you to vote on that one. I'm only going to call your attention to the fact that one of the finest things you can do for yourself is to put yourself in the other fellow's position when you go to make any decision or engage in any transaction involving the other fellow. Just put yourself in the other fellow's position before you make a final decision. And if you do that, the chances are that you'll always do the fair thing by the other man. Number 30, the habit of assuming full responsibility for any task that you've undertaken. Not coming back with an alibi. Did you know the one thing at which the majority of people are the most adept in doing? Alibis. My, oh my, oh my. Alibis. Creating a reason why they didn't succeed or didn't get the job done or didn't do the thing. If the majority of people who create alibis would put half as much time into doing the thing right or trying to do it right that they put into explaining why they didn't do it, they'd get a lot farther in life and be much better off. And generally speaking, the man who is the most clever at creating an alibi is the most inefficient man in the whole works. They make a profession of spinning alibis. They think them up in advance so that if they are called on the carpet or get caught over the barrel, they have an answer. There's only one thing that counts, and that's success. Results are what count. Results. I once wrote an epigram covering this subject that I thought was very effective. Success requires no explanations failure permits no alibis. In other words, if it's a success, you don't need any explanations. And if it's a failure, all the alibis and the explanations in the world won't do any good. It's still a failure, isn't it? Yeah. And number 31, the habit of keeping the mind occupied with that which one desires and not with that which one does not want. You know, the vast majority of instances in which people engage in personal initiative is in connection with the things they don't want. Had you ever thought of that? Now there is one place where most people don't have to be taught to take the personal initiative. They really work at it. Work at thinking about all the things they don't want, and that's precisely what they get out of life. The things that they think about. Things that they attune their minds to. Now there's a place where that word transmute can come into play. Instead of thinking about the things you don't want, the things you fear, the things you distrust, the things you dislike, think about all the things you like, all the things you want, and all the things you're going to become determined to get. I must tell you something that happened last Saturday. I went down to the travel agency to get my ticket changed so I could come back on Monday instead of Sunday. When I walked in, the manager of the travel agency grabbed my hand when he saw who I was and introduced himself and started in to sell me Think and Grow Rich. In a little while he still had hold of my hand talking to me, a man came in, a friend of his, who was connected with one of the airlines, and he heard the name Napoleon Hill, and he grabbed the other hand and started to sell me Think and Grow Rich. And he said, you may be interested in knowing that before I went with the airline, I had a sales organization with approximately 100 people, and I required every salesman to have all of your books. That was a must. Well, I felt pretty good. As I started out, there were two very nice-looking young ladies standing on the sidewalk giving out election literature. And as I passed by, one of them said, say, aren't you Napoleon Hill? I turned around and bowed. I said, yes, I am. Who are you? She said, well, I was at a woman's club about 2 years ago when you delivered an address, and this is my cousin here. Both of our husbands are very successful now due to the fact they have read your books. I went on over to my car, and a policeman was making out a ticket. You see, all this talk... this is the payoff. I put a penny in there, thinking that would 12 minutes would be all I would be in there, but all of this nice conversation I was getting, I stopped to bathe my vanity in it, and when I got there, this policeman was making out the ticket. He had it about halfway made out. And I walked up to, of course, he didn't know who the car was